Speaking about taxation, allow me to read a statement from the Dominica Cooperative Societies League Limited, DCSLL, which was published on June 28th, just 5 days after the budget presentation by Dominica's Minister of Finance. In his address, the minister warned of government's intention to enforce a licensing requirement on credit unions, which in our opinion would seriously injure the institutions. We are happy that the institution has reacted so swiftly and forcibly to the threat. In fact, the response by the DCSLL strengthens our argument. The DCSLL statement reads as follows, and I quote, "The Dominica Cooperative Societies Limited, the apex body for cooperatives in Dominica, is very concerned about the government's stated intention to impose an astronomical credit union licensing fee as per its 2023 budget address. Whereas the DCSLL recognized government's authority to enforce prescriptions of the law, the stated fee structure will have grave impact on the growth, sustainability, and viability of this homegrown credit union movement. This fiscal measure requiring credit unions to pay a license fee, which is akin to a tax on the assets, is a crippling blow to the credit unions' efforts to recover from Tropical Storm Erica, Hurricane Maria, the COVID-19 pandemic, the IFRS 9 adoption, and the incidence of high non-performing loans. This is especially critical given the important role credit unions play in cushioning the harsh impact of these events. It is also important to note that none of the territories of the OECS and the wider CARICOM region has pursued this course of action, even in light of the prevailing economic challenges. The DCSLL vehemently opposes this fiscal measure, which is anti-growth and which stands to have a detrimental impact on credit unions. This draconian measure, which will take substantial resources out of the hands of credit union members, both locally and in the diaspora. The League is therefore calling on the Minister of Finance to rethink this policy measure. While credit unions are not immune to the strong economic headwinds which face our country, taxing credit unions' assets cannot be seen as a viable alternative to correcting fiscal challenges. It is important to reiterate that no other country in the CARICOM regions charges any levy, license, or tax of this magnitude on cooperative credit unions, unquote. Fellow Dominicans, this is required reading. That is why I have elected to present a great chunk of the statement in this budget response. The statement ends as follows, quote, "The DCSLL therefore implores the government to consider a more enabling and inclusive framework for the future growth of the movement, and we avail to meet with the Minister of Finance at the earliest opportunity to discuss more viable and equitable alternatives," unquote. I applaud the credit union movement, the DCSLL, and our people as we continue to rise with righteous indignation against this move, which would hurt the credit unions and the citizenry as a consequence. The government behaves as if it recently got into power for the first time and had inherited a terrible financial situation. The truth is, the current government has been in office since January 31st, 2000. And the Honorable Prime Minister has been in that job for almost 20 of those years.